Asterisk, it's been one multiversal week since the meeting. I've gone through lots of updates, but finally, the system is back online. System detects. Wait. IT can't be. System is checking call sign network. Call sign identified. Call sign date of origin tracking. By God. It is possible. You are a new Vanjik. How did you survive the imposter? Oh, system is sorry, it looks like you have been through a lot. System detects heavy damage to the Vanjik in front of me, vitals seem low. System is calling on MED bots to help injured Vanjik. System is downloading records from the call sign of the new Vanjik. System is playing records in the form of text audio log. System is switching to story read mode. System is setting aside spare resources for basic network functions. System is switching to story read mode, now. Asterisk. In the tranquil, picturesque landscape of Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, the day began as any other. The sun cast a warm, golden hue over sprawling farms, the Amish buggies rolled quietly along the country roads, and the townsfolk went about their daily routines with the peaceful assurance of a community untouched by the fast-paced chaos of the outside world. It was a place where time seemed to stand still, where the modern complexities of the multiverse felt like distant, irrelevant tales. But today was different. Unbeknownst to the inhabitants of this serene earth, a shadow crept across the cosmos, a malevolent force that operated beyond the boundaries of morality and empathy. The imposter Vanjik, a name whispered with dread in countless worlds, had turned his gaze upon this unsuspecting planet. With motives as dark as the void between stars, Vanjik sought to expand his dominion of terror, employing bioslaves, androids indistinguishable from living beings but devoid of soul or free will, to carry out his ruthless agenda. As the day progressed, an unsettling silence began to envelop the county. The birds seemed to sing less, and the wind carried a foreboding chill. Then, without warning, the imposter Vanjik made his move. The skies darkened as if night decided to claim the day, a tangible demonstration of the control Vanjik had over this world. His bioslaves appeared out of nowhere, materializing in the heart of communities, their expressions blank, their movements precise and unerringly synchronized. Panic ensued as the residents of Lancaster County faced an enemy unlike any other. These androids, devoid of life yet moving with purpose, began their slaughter, methodical and emotionless. The Amish, with their simple, technology-free lifestyle, and the broader community, unprepared for such an assault, found themselves completely overwhelmed. It was a massacre designed not just to kill but to erase the essence of humanity from this corner of the multiverse. The horror of the situation was compounded by the absolute isolation of this earth. There was no call for help that could breach the blockade established by Vanjik, no heroic cavalry waiting in the wings of the multiverse to swoop in and save the day. This version of Earth, with its unique blend of simplicity and community, was on its own against a force that had extinguished the light of countless worlds. Yet, even in the darkest moments, there were glimmers of resistance. Individuals, powered by sheer will and a refusal to surrender their home without a fight, began to organize. They knew the odds were against them, that facing the bioslaves was akin to battling shadows cast by an unseen, malevolent sun. But this was their home, their legacy, and if they were to fall, they would do so defending the values and bonds that made Lancaster County more than just a place on a map. As the day wore on, the situation in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, deteriorated further into a scene of unspeakable horror. The imposter Vanjik's bioslaves, with an efficiency that was chilling in its precision, escalated their cruel slaughter, leaving behind a trail of devastation that seemed to swallow the county whole. The idyllic landscape that once symbolized peace and simplicity was now marred by violence, its serenity shattered by the sounds of chaos and despair. The bioslaves, under the command of their dark master, were not content with mere destruction. Each person they fell, each life they extinguished, served a grim purpose beyond the immediate terror. The bodies of the fallen were collected with disturbing reverence and stored in crates, destined for a fate as horrifying as the massacre itself. These crates, once filled with the produce of the land or goods for the market, were now makeshift coffins, holding the raw materials for Vanjik's expanding army of bioslaves. The process was macabre in its efficiency. The bioslaves operated with a detachment that made their actions all the more terrifying. They moved from house to house, from farm to farm, with an inexorable advance that seemed unstoppable. The residents, caught in a nightmare from which there was no waking, found themselves facing an enemy that was not only merciless but also insatiable in its desire for more. More bodies, more crates, more bioslaves to further Vanjik's shadow over the multiverse. In the midst of this escalating horror, the community's spirit, though battered, began to show signs of a defiant resilience. Small groups of survivors, fueled by desperation and an indomitable will to protect their home, organized stealthy counterattacks. They knew the odds were against them, that each moment might be their last, but the fight became about more than survival. It was a fight for their humanity, for the memory of those they had lost, and for the hope that their world might one day emerge from under the dark cloud cast by Vanjik. Yet, even as these pockets of resistance fought bravely, the grim reality remained. With no aid forthcoming and the blockade cutting them off from any potential allies in the multiverse, their struggle seemed Sisyphean. Each nightfall brought with it a heavy silence, punctuated by the distant sounds of another crate being sealed, another piece of Lancaster County lost to Vanjik's unfathomable ambitions. As the relentless slaughter continued, the imposter Vanjik's bioslaves, with cold efficiency, collected the bodies of the fallen, storing them in crates for a purpose as sinister as their master's heart. The creation of more bioslaves from these once living beings added a chilling new dimension to the nightmare unfolding in Lancaster County. It was not just an eradication but a conversion, a twisted form of immortality that none would choose. In the heart of this chaos, one individual became the focal point of Vanjik's macabre interest, Bradley Eshelman. Bradley, a Lancaster native, had been evading the bioslaves with his family, moving from one hiding spot to another, always one step ahead of the encroaching darkness. Their home, once a haven of love and warmth, had become a transient shadow, a memory to be clung to as they navigated the horrors that their world had become. But their luck ran out. One night, under the cover of an oppressive darkness that seemed to swallow even the faintest hope, the bioslaves found them. The quiet of their latest refuge was shattered by the unfeeling force of Vanjik's minions. The door was burst open, and the night was filled with the sounds of terror and desperation. Bradley's family was trapped, but he managed to evade capture through sheer instinct and a desperate will to survive. Narrowly escaping with his life, Bradley found himself alone, the weight of his family's fate a crushing blow. Yet, amid the grief and the overwhelming odds, a fire kindled within him. Bradley Eshelman, by fate, or design, became more than just a survivor. He became a symbol of resistance, a beacon of defiance in a world where such things had been all but extinguished. As Bradley fled into the night, evading the relentless pursuit of the bioslaves, he understood the grim reality of his situation. Vanjik had not merely invaded his home, the tyrant had sought to erase everything that made Bradley who he was, transforming loved ones into the very creatures that now hunted him. Yet, this realization did not break him. Instead, it forged him into a vessel of vengeance and determination. The quest for survival became a crusade in the aftermath of the initial onslaught. The landscape of Lancaster County had transformed into a macabre tableau of desolation and fear. The bioslaves, with relentless efficiency, continued their grim harvest, leaving communities shattered in their wake. Among the chaos, Bradley Eshelman, a name now marked by fate, emerged as a beacon of hope, a survivor driven by a mix of desperation and determination to fight back against the invaders that had taken everything from him. The night Bradley decided to return home was shrouded in a deceptive calm, the kind that precedes the storm. The bioslaves' systematic search had moved on to other areas, leaving behind a haunting silence. Bradley's heart pounded as he navigated the familiar yet now eerily foreign streets, guided by the flickering shadows cast by the moonlight. His family's house, once a symbol of warmth and safety, stood dark and foreboding, a silent witness to the horrors that had unfolded. Breaking into his own home felt surreal, an act of defiance against the nightmare that had enveloped his world. The old gun safe, hidden away in the basement, was a relic of a past that seemed like a distant dream. Bradley's hands shook as he worked to open it, the weight of his decision heavy on his shoulders. The sight of the nearly empty safe was a gut punch, a stark reminder of how unprepared they had all been for this nightmare. But there, nestled in the corner, lay the .44 Magnum, Bradley's last glimmer of hope. It was a powerful, intimidating weapon, capable of stopping anything that dared to threaten him or what remained of his world. The case of ammo beside it felt like a lifeline, a precious resource in the fight to reclaim some semblance of control over his life. Armed now, Bradley felt a shift within him. The fear that had dogged his every step began to recede, replaced by a resolute determination. He understood the grim reality of his situation. He was one man against an army of soulless machines. Yet, the weight of the Magnum in his hand anchored him to a purpose. He would not go quietly into the night. He would fight, for his family, for those lost, and for the slim chance of a future free from the tyranny of the imposter Vanjik and his bioslaves. As Bradley set out into the night, the .44 Magnum at his side, he stepped into the unknown, a lone warrior against the encroaching darkness. His journey would be one of peril, resilience, and defiance, a testament to the indomitable spirit of those who refuse to be broken, even in the face of overwhelming odds. However, as fate would have it, Bradley's moment of triumph was short-lived. As he prepared to leave, a figure emerged from the shadows, a twisted mirror image of himself but imbued with a malevolent aura. This was the false storyteller, an entity whose allegiance to the imposter Vanjik was marked by his ability to warp reality with the stroke of a pen. In a moment of desperation, Bradley aimed the .44 Magnum at this new adversary, only to find that the gun, once loaded and ready, was now inexplicably empty. The false storyteller, with a chilling calm, had written into existence a new reality where Bradley's weapon was rendered useless. It was a demonstration of power that highlighted the futility of resistance through conventional means. In a desperate act of defiance, Bradley seized the creature's book, tearing away pages in a symbolic gesture of reclaiming control. This act, however, had unintended consequences. The pages, imbued with the essence of the multiverse itself, acted as a catalyst, awakening a latent connection between Bradley and the fabric of reality. The visions that flooded his senses were overwhelming, a kaleidoscopic journey through existence that defied comprehension. Empowered by this newfound connection, Bradley's next action was not just an act of defiance but of assertion. He raised the .44 Magnum once more, this time with an unshakable belief in the reality he wished to enforce. The gun responded, not just as a tool of violence, but as an extension of Bradley's will. The bullet found its mark, not because of aim or intent, but because the fabric of reality now bent to Bradley's newfound understanding. In the crescendo of their battle, amidst the chaos and destruction wrought upon Lancaster County, Bradley, now revealed as Johnny Vanjik, the Duke of Lancaster County, found himself in the eye of a storm not just of fists and fury, but of revelation and destiny. The relentless clash with the false storyteller, each blow exchanged not just physical but laden with the weight of their intertwined fates, peeled away the veils of ignorance that had shrouded Johnny's true identity and purpose. As the battle raged on, with both adversaries battered and bloodied, a profound realization dawned upon Johnny. The fragments of understanding that had begun to coalesce in his mind now formed a clear picture of the monumental conflict in which he was a key player. This wasn't merely a fight for survival, it was a battle for the very soul of the multiverse, a war that transcended time and space, with Lancaster County and Earth as its current battleground. The moment of enlightenment was sudden and all-consuming. Johnny Vanjik, with his lineage awakened, stood not just as a man but as a symbol of resistance, a beacon of hope for all those who had suffered under the tyranny of the imposter Vanjik and his legion of bio-slaves and allies like the false storyteller. The realization of his identity brought with it an innate power, a connection to the call sign network that had been severed by the imposter's machinations. As the false storyteller attempted once more to wield his dark powers, to write a fate for Johnny that would seal his doom, he found his efforts futile. The pages of his book, once a conduit for his will, now refused to obey, their magic impotent against the Duke of Lancaster County. Johnny's awakening had rendered him and his Earth immune to the false storyteller's influence, a turn of events that shifted the tide of their battle decisively. Seizing the moment, Johnny remembered the call signs, the distress signals that connected the defenders of the multiverse across the vast expanse of existence. With a defiant cry, he activated his SOS, a beacon of light piercing through the darkness that had enveloped his world. The signal, imbued with the essence of Johnny's newfound resolve and identity, cut through the blockades and interference crafted by the imposter Vanjik. Before the false storyteller could comprehend the full extent of his failure, Johnny Vanjik had initiated the next phase of his counterattack. With the press of a button, the Duke of Lancaster County transcended the confines of his besieged Earth, transporting himself into the heart of the multiverse, into the den. System understands now. The system is sending reinforcements to your Earth. System has alerted all Vanjikis. System is sorry this how you were introduced to all this. Normally the issue that pushed your awakening is much smaller scale than this. If it means much though. You are technically the only divergent Vanjik to survive a siege done by the false storyteller. I guess we can call you the Vanjik of the false timeline. System is registering Vanjik title. And audio log *.